After an impromptu Tuesday night off, town boss Kieran McKenna will be hoping his town side are nicely refreshed ahead of a run of 4 away games on the trot in February, starting at Derby this weekend. Join us to preview that game here on Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Evening, everybody. Welcome to the Prematch show. We're here to talk about Derby, but it's been a busy kind of week, Seb, with transfer windows, with match postponements. I'm going to talk about ITFC Women putting the men to shame in terms of their transfer window. And today, finally, we can stop talking, I hope, about will Leicester get a points deduction? When's that happening? Because it's at least been announced an appeal will inevitably follow. Should we get this out of the way? If you want to fill your boots in the chat, because we've had a year of when are Leicester getting a points deduction. Not that it really matters now, because I think they're a little bit too far off it, but it's been in the post. It's finally arrived, probably in the second post, the post that hurts the most. What's your immediate reaction to it?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been much more helpful if it had been last season, because at least we might have got an extra 3 million quid by finishing 18th instead of 19th or something. It's been a long time coming. I guess it was summer 2024, preparing for the Premier League season. We all kind of did our 1 to 20s it would have been, and we all assumed that at some point Leicester would get slapped on the wrist for the breach. For those of you, very quick bullet points, obviously they breached for the 3-year rolling period ending 2023. Some shenanigans where they changed their year end after, so it was after they gave back their Premier League share to whoever got promoted that season, Luton or somebody, I guess, and therefore they couldn't be held account by the Premier League. Premier League were a bit embarrassed with the loophole. They then breached again for the year ending 2024, and this is what this punishment has been kind of enacted for. They've been given 7 points, been reduced by 1 because of the savings they've made, I think, between the period 23 and 24. So it's a 6-point deduction, which puts them down to 32 and puts them outside of the relegation spots only on goal difference. You mentioned they'll be appealing it. I'm not sure I would be. I think I would take my medicine and say, yeah, we were very naughty boys, we won't do it again, etc., because it sounds like the Premier League wanted 12, and I think if you kind of anger them, then perhaps they've had a point off as well for the savings, so it might not be in their best interests to appeal this one. It doesn't affect us this season. We all kind of figured they might maybe make a kind of playoff, like 5th, 6th, perhaps, given the outpouring of players from the squad. Doesn't affect us. It makes things a little bit more interesting down at the bottom. I guess they are in a real horrid run of form. Obviously, Marty Cifuentes has left. Real protests against the ownership, against the director of football, which I presume will now increase further. So it makes it interesting at the bottom of the table. Doesn't affect us. I think it's a bit lenient, I think, to be honest, given it was a £25 million breach we were discussing in the green room before we came on air. As you pointed out, that really shifts power in the Championship. Not so much the Premier League, but 25 million quid to play with at kind of Championship level does shift things. So I guess by default we win the Championship, don't we, in the season? 23-24. We finished 1 point behind them, so we'll take that win. Thanks very much. I'm not sure when they hand the trophy over, but yeah, I just think it was a bit lenient. I'm not sure it's enough of a stick to put people off gambling, given the huge rewards and maybe on offer if you do make it to the promised land. So I wouldn't be appealing it. Take your medicine, move on, and thankfully it's put to bed and we don't have to bring it up ever again.
And certain loopholes around the rules have also been closed as well. So if anything, Leicester have caused the EFL and the EPL to prevent the situation of people getting promoted and escaping sanction. So yes, we'll keep an eye on how Leicester react to that. But as Seb says, not much that it's going to do for us now. And if you want to go out and invade the pitch at Portsmouth Road to celebrate the trophy win, don't do that. But if you want to go and get yourself a winner's medal or something like that, then feel free. Back on to more relevant matters for us. Let's say hello to folk in the chat. Neil's with us. He's not going Saturday. I'm not gonna lie, Neil. I'm really happy about that. But I don't want to be. But we'll sort it out. We'll figure it out. We'll get a win at some point with you. Streaky says the tough February run begins eventually. Do you want to bitch about Portsmouth again, Seb? Because I don't know whether I at least it was called off in good time, but it felt inevitable. But it's tin pot, isn't it? Let's call it what it is.
It is, yeah. It appears you can't play a football match in the Championship if it's raining, as we found out on 2 occasions now so far this season, once with a postponement and once with an abandonment, or it's cold. It's so frustrating, isn't it? Because we did a pre-match for the second time, a mini Pompey pre-match. We're not doing a third one, by the way, just to manage everyone's expectations. And the injury list was still pretty bad. And Colby Bishop had gone off in their game against whoever it was last weekend. I can't remember now, but they subbed him off, so he was missing as well, who's crucial to the way they play. So the injury list was in our favour again. I don't like personally having games in hand, because you just kind of add 3 points because you think, oh, we'll win the game in hand, and we go back up the table. We did that with the Blackburn one for about 2.5 months, and then turned in our worst performance of the season. As Ben always points out on the flagship, if it's a game in hand, just add in your points average. That's roughly where you can expect to be in the table. So where will this game now fit in? I'm guessing it goes after Sheffield Wednesday away.
New Coventry, I reckon. April.
It would be amazing. Yeah, shift it to the last week of the season. Is that West Brom away, Pompey away, and then QPR at home? Let's have another 3-week last game.
Relegation teams, potentially.
Yeah, potentially. But it just changes the dynamic, doesn't it? Because it will go to mid-March. It will go just before the international break. And the signings they made on deadline day suddenly will be able to feature. They couldn't have featured in the Tuesday game because they were signed, some of them after the 12 p.m. registration deadline. So it just makes it that little bit more annoying, that little bit harder, and yeah, just frustrating. And logistically for the club, they've travelled there again, had to turn around and come home, etc. Blackburn rained off, fiasco. So yeah, tin pot, sort the pitches out. At this level, it shouldn't happen, should it? Rain and frozen pitches at this level shouldn't be a thing, given the money in the game and the standards. And didn't Ashton say they were looking to form a committee of standards and stuff for pitches and whatnot in the outcome of the Blackburn game? If that cracks on and gets done sooner rather than later, that'd be great, because it is tin pot.
Yeah, and it's the fans that suffer, as you say. Like, I know the club will incur the expensive travel, but it spans. There was someone on Twitter who'd come down from Edinburgh. I think someone from one of the Scandinavian supporters branch had come across for it. Maybe even Portsmouth fans, I suspect, might be travelling over for it too. And yeah, they're always the afterthought, aren't they? But as Ipswich Town Old Boy says, and as I alluded to in the intro, Seb, he says great result, the Pompey game being called off. It does help with Saturday, doesn't it? At least it's one less game to have travelled and played. Well, they have travelled, but one less game to have played.
But you're just shifting it somewhere else, aren't you? So it's, at some point you're going to have a busier week other than having it at the moment. I guess the argument would be that Philogene, Nunez, etc. might be back. Mehmeti and Dan Neil might be up to kind of speed with the way that we play. So you could argue that we're not in the best run of form, and we've got a couple of crucial players who could come back in. So it might get to we might be flying by mid-March. We can cash in our Sheffield Wednesday voucher and then go to Pompey in full confidence before Millwall, before the international break. And we might go there and turn them over and be happy. It just kicks you a little bit because of the absences they had, the players that were missing on both occasions so far. And yeah, it's just a frustrating one.
Did you feel confident about the game on Tuesday though? No, I'm trying to remember what your score prediction. You're always glass half full, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I went for a 1-0 victory. I thought it would be tight. I thought it would be difficult. They don't score many goals at all, do they? So I thought it'd be a difficult game, but I did go for a 1-0 victory. So yeah, I mean, I'm always the confident one out of the two of us, aren't I? But it's just irritating and it's annoying, because we're going to have now another 5 weeks of this game in hand, and it's just frustrating because you want to know exactly where you are at all times, I think.
Yeah, agreed. And you're always comparing yourself with someone else. At least Hull dropped points in their rearranged game against Watford. Finally, before we talk about Derby, some 9 minutes into this week's pre-match show. And thank you for everyone for letting us know you're there. I've put as many comments on the screen as possible. Thank you for all the kind words. A lot of people loving the pre-match. So it's always fun to be here chatting football on a Thursday night, isn't it? So I'm glad that you all enjoy it. ITFC Women, a lot of buzz around the place at the moment, not least because 9 deals were done in the course of January, of which 6 occurred on the final day of the window. Need to get some pronunciations right here. List, I think we're going with Prul, who's a 26-year-old goalkeeper signing a permanent deal from Juventus, Canadian international. She's a goalkeeper. Princess Ademi Louis, who is a 19-year-old forward, signed on loan from Gotham FC, based in America, but former West Ham and Charlton player. Malika Mina from Bristol City on loan, 22-year-old midfielder. Nelly Lass from Leicester on loan, right back / right wing back, really rapid apparently. And Maddie Earl, who had a loan from Arsenal. That was kind of cut short. So that was the kind of final deal, an outgoing there. But really, like, the club are not leaving any stone unturned in terms of trying to give the club the opportunity, the strength needed in depth to survive. So some really excellent pedigree there. And yeah, wow. I don't think any of us saw that level of, we've 9 deals, I said, in the window so far, most of whom featured for the club in the really excellent draws against Bristol City and Newcastle. And those 2 points, Seb, and results elsewhere mean that Portsmouth, who we play on Sunday, it'd be great to get some revenge for the men by beating Portsmouth on Sunday. A victory would put Town off the bottom of the WSL2 table. So it's really all to play for. So
yeah,
a really good kind of confidence booster with the results. Then you bring in acquisitions and strength in depth, as I say, some, comparable, if not greater quality than what you already have, and hopefully what the competition has. And it bodes really well for the rest of the season. Of course, we've got the G word, we've got a gel, of course. But things are looking a lot more positive, and fingers crossed for that game against Portsmouth on Sunday. And then in March, if you haven't spotted it as well, the girls will be back at Portman Road playing a game. They'll be playing Southampton in WSL 2, Saturday, 28th of March. It's a 12:30 kickoff. £8 for adults. I think under 11s are free with an adult. And if you've got an ITFC season ticket at Colchester, your ticket is free. So get behind that. Give the girls your support for that one. That's a big game too. But if you're in the area on Sunday, and I think it'll be great to get. I'll be traveling down for that one on Sunday. Hopefully, it doesn't get abandoned, for goodness sake. But yeah, really excited to see what the second half of the season, and I say a lot of exciting talent now at David Wright's disposal, along with Lucy O'Brien, Beth and Rowe, of course, our friends here on Blue Monday. So really excited for what the next few months has in store. Let's talk about Derby for the men on Saturday lunchtime. So I hate a 12:30 kickoff. I'm not going to lie. It's a 12:30 kickoff for the women, but even like a men's game, I think is even worse for the 12:30s. Really kind of limits the atmosphere, doesn't it? That might work in our favour, being the away team. And in terms of Derby, it's Jekyll and Hyde, isn't it? That's the headline with this lot.
It is, yeah. They are the league's best side away from home, and they're not that great at home, and that's why they've kind of closed in onto the playoff positions. I think most of us, it was the Friday night televised game last weekend, wasn't it? The opening game of the weekend, where they went to Bristol City and won 5-0. We'll discuss that in a bit more depth in a minute, but I think a lot of people saw that and started panicking. And then I think it might have been you actually who kind of put on Telegram saying, don't get too worried, guys. Derby are no great shakes at home. They are very much an away side. So their away form has seen them close right in on the playoffs. They're currently sat 7th with 45 points, 2 points off Wrexham in 6th and 6 points behind ourselves. Played 30, won 12, drawn 9, lost 9, scored 44 goals. They're the 5th most goals scored in the division, conceded 37, so a +7 goal difference. And this is kind of contradicted on a couple of different websites. One website, Opta, which I tend to use most, has them as the biggest overachievers on XG versus actual with +12. The other websites have it at more like +4, +5, but either way, they are the highest overachievers in the league with those goal scoring numbers. So that would suggest maybe the excellent goal scoring returns aren't that sustainable, and that will feed into some of the attacking stats that I'll discuss later on. It was an awful start to the season. They only won 1 out of the first 10 games. Bit of pressure kind of building on John Eustace, but he really turned it around. They won 5 on the bounce in October and November, and they come into this on decent form. 3 wins in the last 5. Bristol City, we all saw on telly, Charlton and Preston, a draw against West Brom, where I think they were a little bit lucky, and a defeat against Wrexham. But the home form isn't great at all. 18 points from the 15 games they've played at Pride Park. The last 5 at Pride Park only have 1 win. Not to be sniffed at. It was against Middlesbrough, but it's when Borough were on that run of form where they couldn't score goals and they couldn't do much at all. Yeah, 3 draws, West Brom, Portsmouth and Millwall, and a defeat to Wrexham. And yeah, away from home, 1.8 points per game, 1.73 average goals scored and only just over a goal conceded. But at home, only 1.2 points per game, 1.2 goals scored, so it drops by half a goal if that's a real thing, and 1.4 goals conceded per game. So not that great at Pride Park. They will need to sort that out if they want to gate crash the playoffs, because I think with those XG numbers and the away form being so good, I'm not sure that's necessarily sustainable for the remaining third of the season.
And we'll talk about the style of players we usually do towards the end. It's a lot of talent in this squad. They've obviously added Sam Smodic, so he won't be available on the weekend, but there's a lot of quality there. A few injuries, of course. We'll talk about Carlton Morris later on, and John Eustace, as I say, has figured out a strategy that's really successful away from home, and we saw that. We'll talk about the August game, of course, and that slog that. S House spectacular from Derby in August, but yeah, you look at again. It's proper pre-match cliche these days. On paper, you look at the attacking talent, and you can catalogue the goal scorers from the Bristol City game. There is the raw ingredients there, but as you say, if you can't, we're talking about Coventry are up there on the basis pretty much of their home record. If you can't get that home advantage, it does feel a little bit counterintuitive. But we'll see how we get on Saturday. That Bristol City victory on the telly, as you mentioned, has definitely given town fans the willies, shall we say? Do you want to give us the stats on that one? Because it was a pretty impressive performance, wasn't it?
It was. Bristol City were awful, but it was a 5-0 victory on the Friday night last weekend. 3-0 up at half-time through Rian Brewster, Ben Berriton Diaz and Bobby Clark. And the second half goals were Patrick Adjiman and a very late one from Lars Jorgen Selverson. And I mean, some of the Bristol City defending was really crap. It was really, really poor at times. And what I noticed about Derby was two things. Fullbacks crossing from deep. I think two of the goals, one came from the left, one came from the right, crossing from deep and looking to get headers on balls into the box. And also just the speed at which they were kind of hitting through teams. The Bobby Clark goal, the third one just before half time, I think it's 4 passes and they score the goal. I think it's played out from the back by Clark into Lewis Travis, pings it to Ben Berriton Diaz, bends it round the covering defender, and Bobby Clark bangs it home. And when you saw Bobby Clark, I thought making those runs in behind the strikers, you could see why they want Sam Smodic. Bobby Clark is on loan. We'll discuss him a bit later on, so he's not necessarily going to be there next season. But if you look at someone like Sam Smodic making those runs past a physical striker who can hold the ball up, bring him into play, I kind of twigged that's exactly why they wanted to sign him. Only had 39% possession. They are not a possession-heavy side at all. 1.9 XG, so 5 goals scored, but 1.9 on the XG. Bristol City 0.22. 17 shots, 7 on target, and 6 big chances created. So yeah, the thing I took away with it was crosses from deep and the speed at which, once they get the ball, the speed at which they look to get it forward, not by humping it, long ball to the striker, but just quick, incisive passing. Well. Yeah, down the middle, quick, incisive passing is something we're going to have to watch out for on the weekend.
And it helps when you play someone who's having a very much an off day too. Do you want to talk about John Eustace? We profiled him earlier in the season, didn't we?
Yeah.
I guess ex-Derby player, raised a few eyebrows when he made the move from Blackburn, but looks a good fit there, doesn't he? And I think there was I'm trying to remember, I think there was a national newspaper that's done a kind of a behind the scenes with John Eustace, and it appears to be that he's they're building a lot of off the field infrastructure there, obviously recruited well on the field, and feel like they're finally getting back to a state of being in a stable situation, having obviously been out of the Championship for a bit and a few financial troubles as well.
I think it's a really sensible appointment they made. I think Paul Warne was a really sensible appointment to get them out of the League One and do job one, and then to kind of bring in someone like John Eustace, who's decent at this level. They had the phase of, Wayne Rooney, Philip Cocu, Frank Lampard. They kind of went for the celebs. Nothing worked. They got themselves in financial difficulty and found themselves in League One. But certainly Paul Warne to get out of League One, and then John Eustace at this level is a really sensible piece of managerial appointment. I would suggest he's doing all right. Managed 47 games, won 19 of them, drawn 12, lost 16. That gets you 1.47 points per game, which is 68 across a full season. So 6th on a crap year, 7th, 8th, 9th, maybe on a normal year. So considering they were in League One 2 years ago, they're kind of building nicely back at this level. And I guess with a bit of quality in the summer in terms of additions, maybe a couple of star Premier League loans again, like they've done this year, they can look to really push on next year if they don't make the top 6 and make the Premier League this year. What was interesting, I thought, after the Bristol City game, he was asked about playoff chances and that kind of stuff, and he simply batted it away and said the priority is to get to 50 points. I think they're 5 points off that now, but clearly, survival was the target at the start of this season. Given the squad, the awful run wouldn't have helped at the start. I think he's done well to turn that round, because 1 win in 10 is difficult with an expectant fan base like someone like Derby. So he's done well to turn that around. His feet seem to be very much on the ground, and if he can keep doing the kind of slow, methodical, steady building each transfer window, he's been backed in this one, which we'll discuss in a minute, then there's no reason why they can't have a decent last third of the season and push on, and if not, look to go again in the summer.
Yeah, and I kind of mentioned it just before in terms of the style of play, and you'll take us through it with the tactical pad. It does feel very comparable to Mick at Ipswich, the kind of the season before, and then maybe 14-15 if they can go again next season and grow on it, where you're the horrible team that no one likes to play. You kind of squeeze as many points out of every game as you can. It's maybe about the talent in the collective rather than having outstanding individual qualities, but it's hard working, isn't it? And you can see maybe from that kind of attitude and philosophy why they're kind of good as the kind of the underdog in most of the away games. The teams underestimate them, of course, but as you said, 39% possession against Bristol City. They'll sit in and look to counter and break. And that strategy works really well in the Championship away from home. As we know under Mick, I remember a 1-0 away victory at Derby doing that exact strategy. But when you're the home team, and, I remember us talking about Paul Warne at Derby and not feeling like it was a good fit, because I think at home, Derby fans have got the expectation of being entertained and seeing high possession, high quality attacking football. It's not really that. So I guess if there's any question marks, and it's something that we need to exploit, of course, on Saturday, it is how they come up with the strategy. But as someone I think Mike put in the chat, we're hardly ones to talk about our away strategy. So it could be an interesting one. I feel like a draw is written all over it. In terms of the history, so moving us on very quickly, should we talk about our record there, which is generally positive? Should we start with a bit of both, though? I think it's your turn.
Yeah, let's do a bit of both. So it's my turn this week to give the 5 clues to you and see how you get on with a player that's represented both us and Derby County. I ruined it last week with a hole-in-one. Was it Richard Chaplow last week? It was, wasn't it?
It was Richard Chaplow.
Go on then, give me your hole-in-one. Let's see how you go. And I've made it quite easy for you this week because you said I'd given you a few crappy serves. So this is quite an easy one for you.
Well, I'm going to go for another Richard then. Richard Keogh.
No, it's not. No, I saw him on the list, but it's not him. 122 league appearances for Ipswich, scoring 48 goals.
Oh, that's a striker. I need an era. Next clue.
58 appearances for Derby, scoring 12 goals between 2015 and 2018. Many, many years after his spell at Town.
So we would have played him in that Mick team then, wouldn't we? I guess, unless they were they would have been champion.
He made a crucial contribution for Derby in that Mick team, but I can't say what it was because he'll give it away.
Oh, no.
Is a member of the Premier League 100 club, having scored 106 goals at that level.
I should know this. Oh, I need to hide the chat. Yeah, I'm struggling here. How many appearances for Ipswich?
122 over a 4-year period. Darren Bent, yeah, well done. Yeah, I thought that's why I couldn't say between 2001 and 2005 because I thought you'd get it straight away. So the remaining 2 clues were total transfer fees of over 50 million quid plus add-ons and 13 England caps, scoring 4 goals.
I mean, your clue 5 should have been famously was told that Harry Redknapp's wife would have scored a goal that he missed.
I forgot about that. Yeah, when he was at Spurs.
Well done to Neil. Yeah. He's got credit back in the bank after a few rough weeks on the lineup quiz, which we'll come to in a second. Norman got there in the end as well. So good.
The crucial contribution he made when you were mentioning the Mick thing. Didn't he miss a penalty when we lost at Blackburn on the last day of the season? Derby lost, and I think, did Darren Bent miss a penalty?
That rings a bell.
Yeah, and we got in 6th, and I think they were losing the game, but there was still time left. So I think that's what his contribution to the Mick 14-15 team was.
Blackburn away. Great goal from Murphy to give us the lead in that one, wasn't it? But we're crap at Blackburn, aren't we? Anyway, the head-to-head record I said was positive. Do you want to give us the numbers?
It is 38 wins for Town, 23 draws between the two, and 29 wins for Derby. Earlier in the season, I wasn't there. I was told it was awful.
Grotty.
A 2-2 draw at home back in August. Jacob Greaves put us 1-0 up from an Ashley Young corner. Carlton Morris scored a penalty after half-time. Rhian Brewster put them ahead on 70. They seemed to waste as much time as possible with S housing. Lewis Travis should have been sent off for going in on somebody, I can't remember who it was, Eustace, was it, or somebody at the time? I'm not sure who it was, to be honest. And then Jack Clark, and this was a big moment for Jack Clark, wasn't he? Hadn't started the season great, was playing on the right, I think, against Birmingham, took that penalty in the 106th minute, the 16th minute of injury time. And as we know, he's got, nerves of steel from the penalty spot, as we see now, to make it 2-2. A big moment for Jack Clark, who obviously went on to have the decent season that he's having. But yeah, that was the one before. I think Egley and Nunes were paraded on the pitch, I think, just before kickoff, because the window, I think, had closed the previous evening, perhaps, or it was about to close. And that was a really frustrating one. You were there. How badly were they shithousing in that one?
Oh, it's the worst I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And the 16 minutes, I think, was an underestimate as well. I think the guys on Beyond the Scoreline calculated it at 19 or something like that, like proper, like the worst. And in that situation, you need a referee, and at least the referee called the minutes. But the problem was not adding the time on. It was the fact that he'd allowed Derby to just take the mick for the whole of the second half. And then they were doing it before they even took the lead. When they got the lead, it was just even worse. So, this is where the league needs to look, the PGML needs to look at referees being culpable with this. If you're allowing goalkeepers to go down with cramp, if you're allowing players to feign head injuries, if you're allowing players to take throw-ins for 30 seconds, this just kills the momentum of matches and gives teams an unfair advantage. And the 8-second rule that's in place for keepers should also be in place for throw-ins, for example. Like, there's stuff that can be done about it. And if you're Derby, as you mentioned, they started the season poorly. It's a good point on the road, isn't it? But frankly, a bit of an embarrassment, all told. But I guess if you're a Derby fan, you're going to be calling us sour grapes and flouncing and bitching and moaning about it. But yeah, didn't get value for my season ticket that day. Put it that way. I've got fond memories of Derby away.
Absolutely,
you're going to give us some history now, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a place we have a really good record at. The last time we went there, the starter, the amuse-bouche to Peterborough and Barnsley away, early April 2023, a 3:00 kickoff, a 2-0 victory, the amazing counter-attack goal where Walton bowls it out to Broadhead, who does the little hop, skip and a jump before firing it to the left wing, where Wes Burns has ragged it forward from a corner, knock it down into the path of Connor Chaplin to slide home under the keeper. And then George Hurst in the second half, Wes Burns, that no-look pass from Morsey. I can still picture it. The no-look pass from Morsey. Burns goes through, keeper saves it, falls to George Hurst, swivel, turn, back of the net, 2-0. Yeah, we were absolutely purring at that stage. And it's a place we've got a really great record at. As I've mentioned, Mick had 3 consecutive 1-0 victories there between 2016 and 2017. I remember at least 2 of them being a Bartosz Bielkowski masterclass. I think Derby were very unlucky
penalty in one of them, the one where Carlos
lose, perhaps
in the edge.
Yeah, perhaps, maybe. You mentioned it earlier. Probably the most celebrated goal between 2006 and Kieran McKenna taking over, the 1-0 Carlos Edwards 92nd minute winner.
Fixture, wasn't it? I mean, I think we were still trying to.
No, it was. We were trying to stay up. That's why it was crucial, and we were awful. They missed a penalty. We absolutely robbed them and got out of jail with that one. There was the crazy 4-4 October 2013, 4-1 up at half time. Steve McLaren had been appointed, but was in the stands, went into the dressing room apparently at halftime, and it ended 4-4. The shirt you are wearing, the homage for 2 appearances, the 4-1 back in 2003, Matt Holland scoring with his last kick in a town shirt, and the January before that, 18 months previously, a 3-1 victory. We won 3-1. Who was it? It was Marcus Bent, Peralta, and Rusa. Yeah, Stuart missed a penalty. We were in that run between Christmas and February where, Spurs twice, Fulham, Everton. We kind of thought we'd done ourselves the business and got ourselves safe again. So it's a place we've got a good record. Since that 3-1 victory in January 2002, we've played 18 games at Pride Park. We've won 10, drawn 5, and only lost 3. So it is a place we currently have a very good record. Hopefully the equivalent Derby pre-match podcast tonight is saying, oh no, along comes Ipswich, because they were hopefully one of their bogey sides. Yeah.
Lot of love for Sixto in the chat, quite rightly. You've mentioned I've got 3 options for you for the lineup quiz. I can give you the 4-all, which might be fun, or I can give you the 3-1 from the last day of the season. Matt Holland's last ever ITFC game.
Okay. I think we
4-1,
might have
sorry.
done. I think we might have done that 3 years ago. If that seems to remember. Let's go for the 4-4 because
Or I
I
can
was
give you
there.
the Premier League 3-1 if you want.
No, let's go for the 4-4 because that's the season before the playoffs, isn't it? That's the 13-14 season. So it's kind of mixed playoff squad.
October 2013.
Not full, is it? So I know Murphy scored twice, so he's on there. I know Cresswell scored, so he's in there. Bart, I assume.
No.
Oh, Dean Gherkin.
Dean Gherkin's
of course, he didn't sign to the playoffs, did he? So Berra's not there at that point. Chambers and Smith, is he?
Berra's there, yeah.
Okay, Chambers and Berra, centre halves.
Chambers and Berra centre halves.
I do not think who the right back was.
I think Chambers at right
Chambers
back.
right back. Okay, so Tommy Smith then?
Yep.
Okay, Scouse must be in central midfield.
Correct.
Someone like Hyam alongside
Yes, going well.
Carlos Edwards was there that season and got loaned out halfway through. Is Carlos Edwards the right winger?
He is off the bench.
Okay, so I need McGoldrick alongside.
Yep. McGoldrick and Murphy up front. So you're missing the right midfielder,
and
I think you're missing a left midfielder. But I would have this guy more as as kind of a centre midfielder. But
Ryan Tunnicliffe down the left.
Yes, well done.
The right winger.
Mate, you love him. I didn't get him a few weeks ago. And you went
David Johnson. No. Grant Ward. No, it's too early for Grant Ward. I don't know.
Huddersfield away.
Oh, Paul Anderson.
Paul Anderson. Correct.
Right,
yeah, you've done really well there. Well done to the chat. Neil's gone Webster.
No, he didn't sign until
he's
2016,
got
I think.
He's got Neil Johnson gets gold star for Tunnicliffe. I saw that before you mentioned it. Well done, Neil. That was excellent getting that one. Frank Nublet off the bench. Jay Tab off the bench. Who else is on the bench? Scott Loach, who I think played for Derby, didn't he? And Elliot Hewitt. Did Elliot Hewitt play for Derby? Maybe I'm making that one up.
No, did he?
Tyrone Mings was on the bench. Anthony Wordsworth was on the bench. John Eustace was on the bench for Derby.
Famously made his last appearance for Derby against Ipswich, and didn't he get sent off? I'm sure I had that in the notes from
wrote that down in the notes.
2015. Yeah.
And actually, there's some Ipswich interest in the Derby team if you want to have a go at this.
No, he's not there yet, is he?
No. So one forward though, Loney probably joins us on loan season after this
Connor
one.
Salmon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the goalkeeper.
Lewis Price.
No.
Oh.
Names does start with L.
Don't know.
Or former Huddersfield manager.
Lee Grant.
Lee Grant was in goal.
Okay.
Indeed. Yeah. Other names to chuck at you. Will Hughes, who was always kind of unsung, wasn't he? And then got the move to Watford and eventually ended up at Palace. Chris Martin, scummer, who didn't score actually that night. Zach Whitbread scored. Craig Bryce and Jamie Ward got the goals. But yeah, 7 minutes, 9 minutes, 14 minutes, 34 minutes for us to be 4-0 up. Oh no, 12.
Brilliant.
I think they got one back at 2-1.
Yeah.
And
then was the fourth goal equaliser after the 90th minute.
88 minutes according to
this. Right, yeah.
So yeah. I can't believe of all the positive history we've got at Pride Park. We went and revisited a nightmare when the Wally with the Brolly masterminded a stupid comeback. So we'll move things on. Do you want to? We've mentioned Sam Smodic. Do you want to give an opinion on that one? The guys on behind the scoreline, if you got top tier, analyse that situation. What's it from the outside? And we also can commend folks to Craig and Joe's deadline day reaction show on Monday too. But from the outside, Seb, it seems a weird one, doesn't it?
You'll save a chunk of wage. I'd imagine he was on a decent wage in the Premier League. He'll have had a reduction, but if you can save, 3 months of that, it must be worth doing. It's just strange McKenna's comments in the pre-match presser for Preston, where he said the valuation has not been met when Preston and Wrexham when Wrexham and Derby were sniffing around. If the valuation isn't met, he'll remain at the football club. The valuation can't have been met because there's no obligation. It's just a straight loan. If there was a fee that gets triggered in the summer, regardless of appearances, goals, league place, whatever, that would make sense. But to do it as what these days they just call a dry loan or a straight loan does seem very strange. So whatever reason, it's a footballing decision, they've taken it that he's best off moving on. And I can see why Derby wants him. Obviously reunited with John Eustace, who he scored all those goals under, the 27 goals or whatever it was he got in the 2023-24 season. So makes sense for him. He can go and play some games. It wasn't working with us, was it, in that number 9 role? That number 10 role. We need a creator, not a goal scorer. So yeah, he moves on, wish him well, etc. But crucially, literally, I'm quite glad. If it had been a sale, he'd have been so up for this against us on Saturday. So in some ways, I'm quite glad it's a loan, so he can't play against us. It's just weird. There's no obligation to be triggered at the end of the season. It seemed a strange thing to do, but there we go.
And just to chuck it in there, you had a bit of a slip there when you said a number 9. Could we have kept him and tried to get goals out of him in the 9 role? No,
we tried it in the Premier League against Newcastle. He got eaten alive. He's not a back to goal striker for what we play. He's ideal in a 2. That's why at Blackburn he was so good. He was the 10 bursting behind, and you had someone like Sam Gallagher, holding up the defenders. Carlton Morris will probably do similar at Derby, but we don't play as a front 2, and he can't play the 9 role alone because he's not a back to goal striker.
Fine. I mean, it's a relevant question anyway because he's not here, but. It seems, yes, I think we agree it's a strange situation. Do you want to do the other bits of January business and then we'll take
very quick. Yeah, very quick. Derry Merkin has come in, left back, 1.8 million quid from Utrecht. Dion Sanderson was on loan for the first half of the season from Brum. They've made that permanent for 350k. Oscar Fraulo, a central midfielder, has come in from Mönchengladbach, again 350 grand. So they've brought in a central midfielder, a couple of the defenders, and Sam Schmodic. And they've moved on to quite a few of the League One kind of era players. Ebu Adams went to Portsmouth, famously with the pen upside down in the picture, 500k. Caden Jackson, they signed him on their return to the Championship. Obviously, he's gone back to his hometown club of Bradford. Hopefully he can get promoted out of League One. He signed a 2.5-year deal there. Curtis Nelson, Ryan Nyambe, Corey Blackett-Taylor, kind of, players that got them back to the level and have dropped down the pecking order, have all moved down to League One to MK Dons, Reading and Bolton, respectively. So he has been back. He's got 4 signings. I think there was another one, but they were the main 4 signings that have come in. He's been back to try and get them over the line in the second half of the season. We can wait and see if he can do it or not.
And do those arrivals to you, there's a little bit of whiff of AI data dashboard about those, aren't there? Derry Merkin for 1.8 from Utrecht, Oscar Fraulo from Mönchengladbach for 350k.
There is, but it's the world we now live in, isn't it? Everyone wants this player trading model where you get someone cheap from the continent and you flip them at the end of a couple of years' time for 2, 3, 4, 5 million quid. I think Schmodic is proven at this level, and he's going back to a system that will suit him with a manager that knows how to get the best out of him. So that makes sense. And Dion Sanderson, by all accounts, must have been doing okay in the first half of the season for them to trigger that one. So those two make sense. The other two, there's a AI data dashboard that someone's punching numbers in there, aren't there?
We'll be back after this to talk about how this team line up.
Blue Monday is brought to you in partnership with Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for property and business law. Whether you're buying a home, starting a business, or just need legal guidance, our dedicated team has got you covered. Trust our award-winning customer service team to handle your legal matters with care and expertise. Find out more at atwells.com or visit us at our offices in Ipswich, Colchester, London, and our new location in Woodbridge.
Thank you to Atwells, and thank you to our pre-match show partners, One Stop Badges. You can find out about both by clicking the link in the description. Shall we deal with tactical pattern style of play, Seb? Do you want to talk us through the formation?
Yeah, so they switched it to a 4-2-3-1, and it's coincided with a decent run of form. So it was a 3 at the back system. That's what they've used most for this campaign so far. It was kind of a 3-4-2-1 with 2 narrow number 10s behind a central striker who was normally Carlton Morris for the first kind of half of the season before he picked up his injury. But they switched it to a 4-2-3-1, and since then, for the last 4 games, they are unbeaten. You know what you're going to get. We've referenced it from a John Eustace side. They're going to be pragmatic. They're going to be organised. They're going to be resilient. They're going to sit in and look to really hurt you on the transition by getting the ball quickly through each section of the pitch and getting up towards the offensive areas. So 4-2-3-1. This was against Bristol City. Roll it forward to the average player positions. You'll see there's a box that appears with the 2 central midfielders who basically patrol that area. David Ozu and Lewis Travis, as we know, they will just sit there deep, look to pick up the balls off the centre halves, in this case Dion Sanderson and Matt Clark, and you look to quickly ping it out either to the wide players or to the forward players. What's interesting is that Ben Berriton Diaz down the right and Ward, they both hold the position to try and stretch the play. Whereas on the other side, you'll notice Ruan Brewster, the left-sided attacker in the 3 behind the striker, does like to cut infield. And I've mentioned about how Bobby Clark is the most advanced player. He's the number 10 that will look to break behind someone like Adjiman leading the line, or Carlton Morris when he's back, and look to get onto the end of things in the box, which is probably, as I said, the Sammy Schmodic role they've got outlined for him. Move it forward again to where they touch the ball the most, and you'll see the kind of box at the back, the Travis, Ozu, Sanderson, and Clark. Box kind of remains there as a central spine to protect the goalkeeper. I mentioned Ward and Elder crossing from deep. Ward on this one down the right does play deeper than Elder down the left, but they do like to cross the ball from deep. Ajiman is still ever so slightly behind Bobby Clark, who is out and out kind of the furthest player forward, and Brewster really likes to tuck in and almost play as a number 10 role, so it kind of shifts where Elder becomes the left winger in the 3, Brewster becomes a 10, and Clark and Ajiman almost like a front 2 with Clark ever so slightly more further on the pitch. Now, they don't get the ball. They're not a long ball side. I assumed they would hit the ball long because their possession is so low, and so low, and they don't make many short passes a game. I think they're second bottom for short passes per game. But it's not a case of long ball football. They just don't have the ball very much at all. They're happy for the other sides to have possession. 42% possession is the second lowest in the league. They are second bottom for build-ups resulting in goals. So a build-up is where you pass it around to, I think, 2 or 3 players. They are second bottom for that. That's not what they do. They don't really press amazingly. They are mid-table for pressers, and they are third fewest for high turnovers won. So when they win the ball in their own half, they will look to hit quickly. They will bang it out to the wings, as we saw against Bristol City. They will bang it into the front 2, but they're not great at kind of closing down in the final third and winning the ball back there. They do like to attack down the left. 44% of attacks down that flank is the highest in the league. And do you remember I mentioned earlier about the XG overperformance? This is why. The attacking stats. 10 shots taken per game is the second fewest in the division. 3 of those being on target is also the second fewest in the division. So they are scoring a lot of goals, but they're having very, very few kind of shots on target and shots in general, which means it's a bit like us at the start of that 17-18 season where everything we shot kind of went in the goal. That's why the likes of Opta are saying, you're massively overachieving. We're not sure that is sustainable. Two things to watch out for. Yeah, 2 things to watch out for. They're a set-piece threat, as you might expect from a John Eustace side. 13 goals scored from set pieces is the 4th highest in the division, and they're dirty. 12 fouls committed per game is the 3rd highest in the league, and 68 yellows is the 2nd highest in the league. So they can be dirty, and they've also conceded the joint most penalties this season with 4, one of which obviously we saw at the Portman Road game back in August.
Nigel's point, Darnell Furlong have it covered. Yeah, what a weekend for Dar. He's a little bit of our master of the dark arts of recent weeks.
I'm enjoying that part to his game.
You went to Sheffield United, you'll know what we're talking about.
Coventry as well. Coventry, yeah.
Coventry too, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. That was a great night, wasn't it? No real surprises there. The stats kind of bring it home, don't they?
Yeah.
And in terms of personnel, there's 3 names there. There's quite a lot of ex-Ipswich, ignoring Smodic, ex-Ipswich involvement with Matt Clark, Lewis Travis, Callum Elder. The one name there that town fans might remember from the summer, and I wonder if we've got a bit of FOMO, is Patrick Agyemang. Not being, super prolific, Seb, but definitely weighing in with a good amount of goals and a big presence that we seemingly lack in our number 9 role.
He's pacey, he's strong, he's direct. He's got 9 goals and 3 assists. He's scored in the last 2 games, and 5 of his 9 goals this season have come from headers, including one against Bristol City. He's good in the air. Yeah, I mean, I guess for every Patrick Agyemang, there's a Damien Downs, isn't there? The player that Southampton signed. You kind of take a chance on these players. Sometimes you hit lucky, like they seem to have with him. If he finishes the season with between 12 and 15 goals, I think a Premier League side probably comes in for him, perhaps in the summer.
Chat in January.
Because he's got a lot of the attributes needed to play at Premier League level. He's athletic, and you look back now and you think, well, imagine where we could be with someone like that leading our line with a bit more kind of athleticism. Bobby Clark, I've mentioned, plays at the 10, can drop deeper. 3 goals, 2 assists on loan from the Red Bull Group after Liverpool sold him for like 12 million quid or something. The fullbacks I've mentioned have 10 assists between them. Callum Elder, formerly of this parish in the relegation season, wasn't he? Who signed in the January when Lambert was in charge, and Joe Ward, they've got 10 assists between them so far this season. And I'm just going to compare the 2 central midfielders for Derby versus our 2. So David Ozu and Lewis Travis, they both sit, as I've mentioned, 4 tackles per game combined and 8 ball recoveries per game combined. Compare that to Matasiwa and Taylor. They average 9 ball recoveries per game. So very similar levels of winning the ball back and looking to move on. Our stats are slightly skewed. Matasiwa is way higher than Taylor, but you've got 2 central midfields there that will go head to head and will look to win the ball back and quickly, pass it on to the more creative, more rapid players in the team to hurt people. They've got some injuries. Crucially, Carlton Morris sounds like he's close to a return in the pre-match presser today. He's still their top scorer.
You were speculating whether there's a little bit of misdirection going on here.
I wouldn't be surprised if he made the bench. Maybe I might be completely wrong with that. But he's still the top scorer with 10, having missed 2 months of the season with a knee problem. Back in training, Eustace said he won't be ready for this one.
There's an open goal there for a Seb Brownism there. I can't believe you've not said he's back on the grass.
Back on the grass, of course. Sorry. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the team sheet lands at 10:45, whatever it will be. And if he were to be on the bench, I wouldn't be that surprised. Sondre Langus is out. And quite importantly, Jacob Widdell-Zetterstrom is out. He's their goalkeeper who's been in really good form so far this season. He pulled out of the warm-up against Charlton a few weeks ago. I think he had a headache or felt unwell or something. And then he missed the Bristol City game as well. And Eustace has said he's not right. He's ill. He's +4 in the goals prevented stats and was linked with Bournemouth in the January window. So he's quite highly rated, having a very good season. Their backup keeper they've got in goal is a 37-year-old goalkeeping coach, Richie O'Donnell, I want to say. So, yeah, that could be a big boost as well. Just like it was a big boost to have Guy Cornell in goal against Preston, as I pointed out.
Yeah, we cursed that one, didn't we?
Yeah,
At least he didn't get a clean sheet, but
true.
He didn't have much. We didn't give him much work to do, though, Seb. So hopefully whoever's in goal for Derby is a bit busier this weekend. Good. Anything else you want to add on Derby before we talk about us? No? Good.
No, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be an awkward game.
Yep. But the record, the history is in our favour, isn't it? In terms of bits and pieces on the podcast, again, we need to say thank you to Atwells and thank you to One Stop Badges, our partners here across the channel, and One Stop Badges are pre-match show mates. Specifically, if you want any kind of keepsakes or badges, the name does the trick there. There is a Blue Monday promo if you want to click the link and avail yourself of that. In terms of other bits and pieces, if you're a top tier member, weekend preview will be out during Friday, and Beyond the Scoreline should be back on its normal Monday time slot next week. And between that, the flagship show will be out Sunday, 8 p.m. live with Ben, Dave and Joe talking about the Derby game afterwards. And I believe because it's the main game on Sky on Saturday lunchtime, Ben will be doing a watch long of the game. So join him on his channel. And if that is the case, then I might pop up at halftime and have a chat with him too. So do join us there. And I think that's it in terms of bits and pieces to promo. So let's talk about Ipswich, Seb, let's go from the back to the front, because we've been talking about the front line. So we're going to start with the keeper situation. I think Walton's fine there.
Yep.
The back four, I think, picks itself these days. So the
big
big
for Jacob
question,
Greaves to come in for Kipre. I thought Greaves might have started against Portsmouth had it gone ahead. I thought Kipre. I know he took the knock on the head away at Sheffield United, got subbed on the yellow, and I don't think he was great against Preston at times. I thought Jebison really kind of ran the channels and drew him out well. So wouldn't be that shocked if Kipre, if Greaves were to start. But yeah, let's go O'Shea and Kipre and leave Davis at left back. Obviously, keep the back five the same for a bit of continuity.
Out after one of our most high performing players. That you have one iffy game and you're kicking him straight.
He wasn't great at Sheffield United either. But then, to be fair, neither was Jacob Greaves at left back. So
yeah,
what do I know?
Exactly right. So Trevor's asking the big question. I'm going to pose it to you. Does Daniel start? I think from our Portsmouth pre-match preview, easy for me to say, a lot of P's in that statement. I think you were up for Daniel starting, were you not, on Tuesday? So surely you're in the same boat for this one.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't get any minutes against Preston. I guess the way the game went, it didn't make sense to kind of get him on. McKenna said he'd be involved. He was on the bench but didn't come off. I'd have him starting alongside Matasiwa. I presume you'll probably only get an hour out of him. He's barely played any football. I think he's had something like 13 minutes of football since August and only one start in the League Cup for Sunderland back at the start of the season. So I'd have him alongside Matasiwa in midfield for an hour or so, and then someone like Taylor or Hughes replacing him on the hour mark. And then I guess the Portsmouth game being called off is beneficial for Wes Burns, because he couldn't have played that one and then not played this one, or maybe sat out that one. I'd have him on the right wing personally for this one. We've discussed Egley and McAteer to death on this podcast, I think. So I'd have Wes Burns starting there. Mehmeti in the 10. I'm kind of assuming that Nunez and Philogene, if they're back, will only be bench options, given they've both been out for a little while. So I thought Mehmeti was neat and tidy against Preston. I liked a few things that I saw. Unlucky to be harshly ruled offside. I would have had an assist against his name where he did the knockdown for Azon to put the ball in the back of the net. So I'd have him in the 10 still. Jack Clark down the left with Philogene off the bench. And then up front is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because Azon was subbed at half-time with a migraine, with a headache. George Hurst came off the bench, missed that chance, did well for the ball over the top from Taylor. He pulled it down and the keeper made a decent save. Akpom is now kind of back and involved again. So it's one of those three. Rumours of an injury, perhaps potentially to Azon. We kind of played that down. Maybe McKenna when he was trying to sign a striker on deadline day by saying he had the headache. So I've gone for Azon. It could be any of them, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Hurst. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Akpom, to be honest. So I've just gone with Azon because as of the last league game, he was the man who had the shirt. So yeah, what do you agree with me, Dan Neil? Do you think Dan Neil starts? And what would you do up front?
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it's George Hurst, just because we need George Hurst firing. I know that we're all bitchy and upset about not bringing a striker in on deadline day, and maybe there's a shock free transfer. Is Divock Origi available on a free? We should part those thoughts. We need our strikers to be firing, and the way that they do that is to play minutes and to get chances and to hopefully convert them. Playing at Portman Road, I think, is a problem for Hurst at the moment. So I think you play Azon and Akpom at home, and maybe you give Hurst the away games and hope that he plays himself into form. So that would be my thinking there. But in terms of the three of them, who is the most in form if they're all fit, I think you're right with your Azon pick in that respect. So we'll see what happens there. Do let us know your thoughts about this in the chat as well, in terms of any positions on the pitch, frankly. But certainly, I think the front, the number 9 and who plays alongside Matasiwa, I like Dan Neil starting on Saturday. I would have started him on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I think I endorse that selection choice. So yeah, I think we're generally aligned. Let's see what the chat has to say. Neil's got a feeling Greaves may start, though, Seb.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, put it that way. I thought, like I say, he might have started against Portsmouth. I wouldn't be surprised if he is on the team sheet because we've got a lot of games obviously coming up on the road. We've got Wrexham in the Cup next week, Wrexham then in the league, obviously, Watford. So there's a lot of travel. We will need to use the squad at times. Pompey being cancelled, I guess, does help in that respect. But I wouldn't be surprised if Greaves were maybe to come in and get a game because Kipre, the last couple, has just been slightly off. I know he took the bad bang on his head at Sheffield United and got booked and stuff. But last week I thought Jefferson really kind of played him and was kind of dominating him at times down the flanks and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if he were to come in, put it that way. Nigel's
got a suggestion to deal with that, though. I'd love to see Kipre up front, he says. He's a solid lump and he's played there in the past. What do you think? I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I'd be astounded if we were to see Kipre. Didn't he put Cam Burgess up front once against Lincoln when we were chasing a game? It's not something that's going to happen, let's be honest. I know he was a striker as a youth player or whatever it was, and that kind of explains why he can be quite clinical in front of goals at times from set pieces and stuff. But we will never see Cedric Kipre start up front for Ipswich unless something terrible happens to,
chasing the game
to loads of people. It's just not going to happen.
There you go. Quote there, Nigel. And when it happens, you can come and gloat. Stevie asked about Telegram group. There's a reason we don't talk about the Telegram group at the moment, in that we can't, to quote Mark Ashton, access and egress is a problem for us at the moment. We've kind of been left in the lurch by our service provider on that one. So we are considering our options. So at the moment, we can't allow any people to join it. So that's why the links on the website don't work. It's on our to-do list and we will get it sorted at some point. But apologies for that in the interim. Neil making a case for Akpom.
Yeah.
Looked sharp when he came on last weekend, Seb.
And he scored obviously against Oxford when he last played in the 9 in the league. I think he then got injured, didn't he? And didn't feature since then maybe. So yeah, again, like I say, it could be, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those three started up front. I just don't know which one it's going to be.
Neil making a good point here. Play your strongest team, and then the next game, which is Wrexham in the Cup, is where you rotate. So, but I guess the trouble is, to Neil's point, we don't know what is the strongest team in terms of the number 9 position, do we? That's the
I
problem.
think we know what it is
the
on
rest of
paper. I think all of us, would write down George Hurst as the starting striker because we know what he can do at this level. He's just not shown it enough this season. And I guess with the 2-week gap now, obviously with this game against Derby and then Wrexham in the Cup next week, you've got 2 weeks between now and Wrexham in the league, and you will rotate and you'll make changes undoubtedly for that Wrexham Cup game next Friday. Then you're not going to have any issues regarding player squad management and stuff because you've got a decent break after this, having had a clear week. I know they travelled to Portsmouth, but a clear week coming into it. So yeah, play your strongest 11 because this is a tricky game.
And we can a little bit of housekeeping. Almost certainly, because we bought the tickets now. Seb and I will be at the ITFC versus Everton under-18s FA Cup game next Thursday. So Henry and George from the weekend preview, they'll be taking our spot for a weekend preview version of the Wrexham ITFC show, and then we'll be back for the league game afterwards. So advance warning on that one. It might not be a live show either next week, but it's Cup, and I think someone put in the chat really early doors that they don't give a crap about the Cup, which I can totally appreciate, frankly. All of us, I think, would have quite happily not had this fixture of Wrexham next week, but it's happening now. I'm going to deal with it. So we'll talk about it in our own way via the weekend preview, and normal service resumes the week after for the league game. Tess makes it. I was thinking this the other day, whether it's possible. Tess says, wish George Hurst hadn't changed his squad number. It does appear to have been a bit of a monkey on his shoulders or his back or an albatross or whatever.
It takes a prodigious talent to take that Ipswich Town number 9 shirt and do well in it. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well, didn't he have
David Johnson piss take?
Yeah, and didn't he have 27, which worked all right for? There was a previous incumbent wearing that.
Darryl Murphy went from 27 to 9 and started banging in goals left, right, and centre, didn't he?
There you go. So I don't think he can do anything about that, can he? Get your score prediction.
In pre-season, he was great, wasn't he? Let's be honest. In
pre-season, him
and Spodich had this brilliant understanding, and we thought, great. We watched was it Aberdeen? We played up in Scotland on a Friday night, and they kind of, and then when he got the goal against Birmingham on the opening day of the season, George Hurst, and did that's what I do, that's my bread and butter thing, which obviously come back to bite him. I kind of thought, right, well, big moment to take a penalty on the opening day so far into injury time to get an equaliser, and since then it's just not really worked, has it? It's really strange.
Yeah. Do get your score predictions in. We will finish with score predictions if you want to go there. If you want to, like me, and want to keep your powder dry, that's fine. Seb, what is your sense about this one? Are you there on Saturday? You just whacked the desk. He's worried, folks.
I hit the spring. Sorry, I ride the mute button on this, but I did hit the spring before I unmuted. Very sorry. I think it's going to be a draw. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I kind of thought Pompey win, Derby draw, Wrexham draw, Watford win. That's how I kind of saw these 4 away games going. I hadn't considered the FA Cup game against Wrexham, so I'm going to stick with my original prediction of a draw. I'm going to go Derby County 2, Ipswich Town 2.
Who's scoring the goals
for us? For us, I think I'll just make it up. Cedric Kipré, because he used to be a striker, and George Hurst, because he's an excellent number 9.
Love it. Perfect. Love that one. Nigel's confident. He's going for a 3-1. We've got a 2-1 from Neil. Clark, first goal scorer. I was trying to figure out what FGS was. We've got Sean with a 2-1. Is that a home win there?
Home. I think that's Derby victory.
Sean's not confident. We've got a 2-2 from Shabby. That's echoing your thoughts. We've got Lewis with a 2-0. Hurst and O'Shea. Neil with a 2-2 as well. Dan, Neil, and Johnson to score. We haven't talked about Ben Johnson. It's a good shout from Neil there. Any chance he gets the right inside berth, Seb?
No. Wes Burns has got it, but there might be a world where Ben Johnson is ahead of Egley and McAteer as the reserve kind of right winger. We saw him do it in the Premier League season. It was a very different role in the Premier League season. It was more of a right wing back role at times, wasn't it, with the tracking back. At this level, we want it as an out and out attacking position. So no, it's Wes Burns 1 to keep the same kind of position and shape and stuff. Casey McAteer 2. Egley's a different kind of player coming inside and cutting in with his left foot. So Ben Johnson will have to be patient and continue to be the reserve left back and reserve right back option, I guess.
Okay, if you say so. Rob's going for a 1-0 away. We've got Seager, 87, taking an edgy 1-0 away win. 3 points. I mean, he's spot on at the moment. We just need to play into some form and get some confidence on the road after a few iffy performances. We've got a 2-0 from Michael. Own goal from a Davis cutback. Her second half thunder blaster, he says.
Just like 3 years ago, that would be then, wouldn't it? Yeah.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Streaky's confident. He's going for a 3-0. Trevor's going for a 2-1. Hart ruling head prediction. Hurst and Clark. We've got people shouting out number 9s. We've got Ian chucking in Paul Mariner, like top trumps. Like it'll still be fun though. But here's the Ipswich Town
Here's
number
the
9.
goat. Yeah.
And then you've got Neil chucking in Mitch Davray. Not really the same league, but Neil was a fan. Neil's era, I suspect. Stevie's going for a 2-1 Town when he's going for a Travis own goal winner, 90 plus 13. Oh, the irony. That would be hilarious. Philip's going for a 3-1. I think there's some reasonable positivity there and some chat about number 9s. We talked about Sixto Peralta, all kinds of love there for different Ipswich Town eras. I think we'll say sayonara. I think, Seb, you're still doing the sign off, so I will let you do that. But just a reminder, check out Atwell's, check out One Stop Badges. If you're a resident of Derbyshire, if you tune into BBC Radio Derby at 6:45 tomorrow, you might hear me speaking about the game with their pundits. So do tune in. I'll probably be nicking all of Seb's great research, as all of us tend to do, frankly, on a match day. But that's an extra plug for you. But otherwise, top tier for weekend preview and Beyond the Scoreline and Flagship with Ben, Dave and Joe on Monday. And thank you everyone for joining in the chat and getting involved. Great conversation as always. And hopefully we've given you some insight that you can pass on and use as your own for the match day itself. And you'll be there, Seb, won't you, to say?
Yeah, we'll be. Yeah, I'll be heading over to Derby bright and early on Saturday morning. I do have. I've found about 5 Blue Monday badges lying around the place, so I will bring them with me. So if you can find me in the away end, sorry, Neil,
though, won't they? Yeah.
No, I'll try and remember to take them out of the glove box. If you see me in the away end, hopefully I will have. I've got 5 or so left. I will try and distribute them. And yeah, it's a 12:30, which is a bit rubbish, but let's be loud in the away end. Hope to see as many of you as we can, and we can get the away run off to a positive start before. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. We're not here next week. We will see you in a couple of weeks' time for the Wrexham FA Cup. For the Wrexham League game. But as we always sign off on this podcast, come on, you Blues.